All right. Well, I have here Daniel, who's also one of our mentors. He completed the program. He recently just accepted a verbal offer to join Credit Suisse in their transportation team. Is this equity research or investment banking, Daniel?
This is equity research.
Okay, so this is equity research. Now, why did you decide to go with Credit Suisse when you had another competing offer from Jefferies?
I want to say it's really the analyst or my boss in investment banking terms would be the managing director. That person played a big role in how I determine which team I'm going with.
Okay.
Just because in equity research, you're really working on a tiny team compared to banking where it's only like 3 to 5 people per team. You're covering 20 stocks.
Yeah.
And for my analyst at Credit Suisse, I think one of the biggest standouts for him is he worked in consulting, he worked in investment banking, then in equity research for a good 7 years.
Wow.
And so for him, I think what's most valuable to me is the way he thinks and looks at businesses. And I wanted to learn that experience from him. And the other associate that will be on my team was the head of fixed income at a different research shop. And so I think there's certainly a lot for me to be able to learn from coming straight out of college. And so that really played a huge role in why I ended up choosing Credit Suisse.
That's a huge selling point. It's not the name, it was basically the team and the people, especially the one that you've mentioned, the analyst who had a consulting background, investment banking, and research. I think what you will find from people that have a consulting background, they think more like the operator.
Yes.
They think more like the business owner. Whereas in investment banking, they're thinking more on the transaction, the strategic side of things. And then, of course, in equity research, you're thinking more on, you're looking at it from the investor point of view. So 3 different perspectives that it's just wealth of information that you can just suck all that knowledge and really hit the ground running and learn. So you made the right decisions based on those variables, based on those checklists. Very, very important. I think that's good. So when do you think you're going to start?
Probably early July. That's when my work authorization starts, right before earnings season. So I think that would really get me ramped up very quickly after I take my exam. Yes.
How was the interview? Tell us about the recruiting in the interview process, because I know a lot of our students are going to be watching this. A lot of them come back to me. When should I get my resume done? Should I start recruiting now? And these are students that haven't even completed the financial modeling module, right? Which is the first module, is first learn how to build a dynamic 3-statement model before you even start applying. Like first finish the first part of the program, phase 1, and then focus on your story, your resume, and start applying, but not into you at least have some technical skills as a foundation. So how was your recruiting process like? And was there a modeling test when you went through your recruiting rounds?
Yeah, so my recruiting process was rather unconventional just because I am recruiting full-time, and typically banks with equity research programs, they prefer hiring full-time analysts from their internship program. And so that involved, at least for me, a lot of networking, looking out for constantly monitoring the career portals just to see if there are any openings, and good timing as well, just because tight labor market, people are leaving right after bonus season. And so I saw an opportunity and I applied. And because I've done my homework, I've networked with people. Generally, at least from my experience, people were very willing to refer you to these full-time associate programs. They call them associates, but they're really analyst programs. And in terms of my interview process, your first phone call would usually be with your analyst or your boss that's covering the industry. And interview process would go usually around 30 minutes, asking you, okay, behaviorals, why are you specifically interested in equity research? Perhaps from a portfolio perspective, right now, considering the public markets, how would you construct your portfolio? Pitch me a stock. And then after my phone call with the analyst, he sent me a modeling test. And that's where I would say, for the students that are going through the mentoring program right now, definitely be able to build a model from ground up. It's very important, because when I was thrown, when the modeling test was given to me, I had an hour to, first of all, format everything into the right. Look, I know Mr. Romero is very picky about this, but it certainly pays dividends at the end when you're stacked up against other candidates who are gunning for the same position. So know your formats and also be able to really use Excel fluently. That program certainly helped me, know all my shortcuts and be able to quickly build out a model very efficiently. And so after that modeling test, I've also done a writing assessment, just because in equity research, one of the biggest emphasis is sharing a similar voice with your analyst. You want to be writing in the same tone, you want to be writing in the same style. And so doing your homework, reading the equity research reports that your analyst puts out, that certainly helped me. And then at the end, you'll go through a process of calling the head of research, calling the co-head of research, just to make sure, you're a likable person, you fit in their program. Yep. And after that, it's some recruiter reaching out to you, giving you your offer. Yep. And so it was a pretty straightforward process.
Yeah, I think for most students that have never experienced that, the way I would say it's like it seems straightforward, but I'm pretty sure as you were going through it, you were prepared because of the level of training you've received, the amount of time and dedication that you've invested in being prepared for that opportunity. Because number one, it starts with the behavior. You said, you first get to talk to the analyst, behavioral questions, cultural fit. If you don't even get past that round, you're not going to advance to the other rounds where you get to see, they get to test your modeling abilities and then your writing abilities, right? I feel that the first part, behavioral, cultural fit, why the firm, your person, I feel like that part can be easily taught for students, right? The other part is the technical skills one. And that's all upon in your control, right? Because you can enroll on any self-study course and learn the basics of modeling, but are you going to go the extra mile and take the responsibility for yourself to really go deep into modeling, putting together presentations that once you get the opportunity to perform, you knock it out of the park, and usually is during these interviews. So your example is just, I think, emblematic of what everyone else is going to be going through, right? So I think that's good. How did the program, what would you say from our program helped you? What stood out, I guess, during the interview process to your analyst?
I would say certainly the technical skills were the most beneficial, just because you're in equity research, you're competing against not only students, but also professionals who, perhaps they worked in valuation, they worked in accounting or investment banking. They're looking to transition. And because they've been in the industry for many years, they do have some level of modeling competency. But really, when I delivered my model, I actually did receive a note from an analyst saying, this is that your modeling skills really, really stood out to me. And I would say it's certainly because a big part of it was because you were very big on attention to detail. And so that sort of has always been, I've always carried it with me into the different projects and different modeling tests that I work on, and always at the end go through my model just to make sure it's presentable. And I would say that was really the differentiating factor for me, on top of, getting the numbers right and all the links correct as well.
Yeah. I'm a big proponent on attention to detail, always produce client ready work, double check it before you submit it. And at the point where I'm at, it's more about how can my analyst make my life easier, right? And here's a different way of looking at it. Your managing director is probably 40 years old, right? Unless they got there much sooner. They've already lived half of their life. Like as a junior professional, like this is something I did not understood when I was 21, 22, 23 year old in M&A working 100 hours a week. Like, why are these guys doing the work? But now I understand these guys have already paid their dues, right? At my age, I've already lived a good part of my life building the foundation, understanding the technical skills, being an expert in my field. The last thing I want to do is do analyst work, right? Now is using all of this skill set and all of these areas of expertise to help build something in terms of organizations, give people the direct advice so that they can make strategic decisions where they all can benefit and learn from. So as an analyst, you have to understand you're there to basically do all the heavy lifting and get really good at the technical skills so that your managing director or your director, whoever's above you, can leave the office earlier and spend the time with his family, right? That's why you get paid the big bucks. This is another thing that probably going through the program, when you did it, you were not aware of, that the average starting salary of an undergraduate student in the US is about $58,000 at a national level. That's what the average student makes. A student that completes our program, the average starting salary is about $120,000. Half of them, 40% of them go into investment banking, about 20% go into consulting, other 30% goes into trading, hedge fund, or equity research. And it's no surprise why they're making six figures. So you're making double the national average because you're going after very competitive roles, very technical roles where the expectations are high. It's like you are a number one draft pick to join a professional team that is actually competing on Wall Street, where you get to publish your work and other professionals on the buy side get to see it, get to criticize you, and let's see if you're good or not. Like you're at the big leagues. You're at the big leagues. And you guys have to take this stuff serious. And you'll be surprised how many people don't understand this mindset or the level of responsibility. So it took me a while to understand that. And this is why on Wall Street, a lot is expected from their junior talent in any analyst role. And it's also a very demanding career path because you're at the mercy of your clients. Eventually, once you join the team, you're going to get to see how they interact with hedge fund managers, mutual fund managers, with the CEO of the company, especially if you write a report, Daniel, and you're bullish on a specific stock in the transportation industry. And I take a position and 6 months later, I'm down 10%, which might mean the difference between $100 or $200 million. Daniel, you got to answer. I trusted you. What happened? What did you get wrong? How are you going to answer that, Daniel?
I would say, you mean how would I answer if the position's down?
Well, I'm coming after you and your managing director, but I'm using that just as an example to help students understand the level of responsibility. And I see a lot on, this was back, I think last year at the height of the bubble, where there was a lot of IPOs, a lot of SPAC deals being done, and analysts in the industry were just being burnt out, right? That doesn't happen all the time. And they were voicing their opinions on Twitter and on social media, and the media started covering that. But look, you just got to pay your dues, man. Like, it's part of the game. Just do it. Put your head down and do it. And I talk to alumni still in the program that, are first year analysts and they're working a lot of hours. And I said, look, it is what it is, but you're paying your dues. You're learning a lot of skill set. You're playing at the big leagues. And it's okay. When you get to my age, you're not going to do it, right? You're going to have other junior talent that want to learn. They want that exposure so that when you guys reach the age of a managing director, you're interacting with the clients. You're thinking strategically on how to help that company grow, on how to make the right investments. When you monetize the value or the balance sheet of these companies, it's in the billions of dollars. So you don't have time to babysit. So I hope that message is very, very clear. And I think for you specifically, starting out where you're going to start out with that team, based on what you've telling me, man, you're lucky. You have a great start, and you thought about it very, very rationally. So good for you. Good for you, buddy.
Thank you. Very excited about it.
Any final words of encouragement or tips for students in the program?
I would definitely say, carry that mindset we discussed earlier. Your job as a junior analyst is to make your managing director's lives easier. They're putting trust in you. You should definitely reciprocate. Pay your dues up front. Learn your modeling. This would really make your life easier. This program certainly exposed me to what exactly an investment banking model would look like. In college, I wouldn't have known without having participated in the program. And that really helped me in various aspects, not only in school, but also in my internships, in my full-time job recruitment experience. And so definitely really, deliver your projects as if as if it's for a client. And, you will certainly benefit from it afterwards.
Yeah. Great. And obviously for those of you that are in the program, you know where to find Daniel. He's actually on the platform under the career mentor list. You can book a session with him. And like I always say, before you book a session with any of our mentors, make sure that you complete phase 1 of the program. Make sure that you at least have your technical skills covered so that when you speak with someone like Daniel, you can show him that you've put in the effort, you've put in the work to at least learn the technicals. All right. All right. Well, thank you for sharing that, Daniel. And I'll end this session here.